podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
I don't really think of myself as a hero, but I feel pretty superhuman by doing this for Mike.
Traci is a hero, certainly to me and my family and circle, and I will forever be grateful for that. And we both hope that this can inspire people who are watching your show and in our community, families and rugby, that they can go forward, because there's a lot of people in need and people who can really seriously be fixed and helped by doing this. And it takes a certain person. Not everyone can do it. Not everyone has their mind frame. So I will be right back into rugby as soon as I can.
Welcome to U.S. Rugby Happy Hour Live. Interviews with the biggest names in American rugby.
The New England Free Jacks, Major League Rugby champions. One-on-one to score.
Here are your hosts, Bill Baker and that other guy.
Hey, good evening, everybody. This is U.S. Rugby Happy Hour Live, as you just heard from our fancy announcer. One thing I noticed there, Fitzy, I may have to change the open after this weekend.
Yeah, I think so.
The Free Jacks don't win again. So, yes, we get Ben Holden to do another announcement for us for possibly Seattle.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. We're gonna have to throw some USA Rugby Women's Sevens highlights in there real quick.
We have to, honest, 100%, especially that. Oh my gosh, the bronze medal winning play from Spiff Cedric. By the way, Alex Spiff Cedric, one of the best names in all.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, I'll be 100% honest with you, Fitzy. I get goosebumps thinking about that play, and maybe I'm just, I don't know. I got teary-eyed also watching them. Alana, Sammy, just the emotions behind it. I was so excited for them, and goosebumps and tears. Oh, so good for them. And then
I was just saying, it was cool seeing all the different videos of everyone's reactions as they were watching the play unfold, right? How improbable it was to then just like 8 seconds later, the pure elation. Oh, but wait, there's still a conversion. It was so cool. Such a wild moment.
Sammy's like, everyone calm down. We got to kick this thing. And think about the fan base. This is how important Olympic Games are to sports in our country. Most countries. But Flavor Flav is a USA Rugby fan. The less Taylor Swift famous Kelsey brother is a USA Rugby fan. And then Canada, North America. So congrats to Canada. Great for them. And congrats to USA Rugby as well. And also, huge news, which I think is kind of under the radar a little bit. I know people, including our guests, know about this, but business investor Michelle Kang, $4 million donation to women's rugby and other stuff, not just money, but other involvement as well. So that's huge. And it's just a world of great stuff is happening right now for this game. And I'm pumped that we're even talking about it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's keep the good vibes going all the way to LA 2028.
Absolutely. Let's ride it and get gold then. And that's and Michelle said that. Let's go get the gold. And also WER, Women's Elite Rugby, announces Boston, Chicago, Denver. The initial franchises. Great to hear that. I'm excited about that as well. And we should get some of the players on to talk about that. Maybe WER as well. And finally, Fitzy, just a programming note. I know we're kind of rushing you open here, but we really want to get into our topic tonight because it's really important talking about this. But lastly, just a programming note. Tomorrow we're doing another show, and we're airing another show. It's an interview with Keelan Farrell, U20, uprising star for USA men's rugby. 7 tries in the World Rugby Trophy competition, not counting the prelims against Canada. What's funny? Well, we got to keep an eye out for this kid because he's 18. We could see him with Anthem eventually. We could see him somewhere else, but at the very least, he's definitely a promising note for the USA men's side of the senior side down the road, right? So great guy. Yeah. All right, let's do it. Let's jump into it. We have 2 guests tonight. So first off, let's introduce one of them. He's a man who has had a lasting impact on the American rugby game. Let's welcome Mike Tolkin. Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me on tonight. I look forward to doing the show and talking about what's been going on.
Yeah, and first off, Mike, generally speaking, we are extremely happy that you're able to be on the show with us tonight. I don't know, generally speaking, we're so happy you're here.
I really appreciate that. And, people have been great in reaching out and wishing well. And I'm glad I'm on the show too. That makes 3 of us.
Okay, good. And 4, I'm assuming. So let's go
4
to
of us.
4. And she's someone who has had just as an important role in the American game, but more importantly, in Mike's life. Let's welcome Traci Young. And there she is. Hey, Traci.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, we're good. All right. You guys heard us talk about Olympic 7, so I'm assuming, Mike, you watched the matches.
I definitely watched the matches. Yep. I don't have a lot to do right now, but I would be watching them anyway. But it made me feel better about sitting on the couch.
Of course.
Taking it easy. But they were so thrilling and exciting, and so happy for the women to get that medal. And what an amazing finish. I mean, none of us can believe it.
And speaking of not believe it, Traci, we saw a video of you and Wendy watching this match. It's only been a few weeks since surgery. I'm no doctor. You be jumping up and down like that?
Honestly, I overdid it yesterday with all the excitement, and I've been on the couch like all day today. I took a nap. It just came over me. I couldn't control it. It was so exciting.
Absolutely. And I'm sure both of you felt the same thing we felt, the emotions, I had goosebumps, just the way they won. I mean, probably one of the top highlights of the Olympics so far, at the very least. It's just such a great feeling. All right. Let's get into it.
Wait. Well, sorry, but can't forget this. 2 things. One, we got to get this out of the way. One, Mike, congrats on being inducted into the U.S. Rugby Hall of Fame. I believe that took place over the weekend of USA Scotland. Congratulations there. Couldn't travel, of course. We'll get into that in a moment. But then Traci, flowers, that's what the kids say these days. Flowers to you as well. 2024 Texas Rugby Hall of Fame inductee. That's a big deal too. Congrats.
Thank you. Coming up at the end of
Thank you
August.
very much. Yeah, it's great. It's been a great month for us both. So thank you for getting that out.
We have 2 Hall of Famers. I'm not there. I think let's just end it right now. It's not okay.
That's no fun.
So, no, it's no fun. All right, so let's get into it. So, Mike, let's talk about this now. Because there are people who don't really know the situation. They don't know really why we're talking tonight about what's going on. So let's set the stage. Let's start early on, if you don't mind. Let's talk about the health scare, extreme health scare, obviously. When did you know about you had liver cancer, the stage, and all of that? Can you set that stage for us?
Sure. In 2022, early 2022, through a scan, I had, they detected a carcinoma, just a growth, cancerous growth in my liver. And I got that treated with a treatment they call a TACE, kind of zaps it, got rid of it. 1.5 years later, another one popped up, and that got treated with a Y90. Again, kind of controls it with a little bit of chemo. So it was under control and everything. But the thing about cancer is that it can come back. And since it came back twice within 1.5 years, that was their worry. And while everything was kind of good and under control, they started investigating the idea of a transplant. And that was last summer where the idea got brought up. And in December of 2023, I got put on the list to receive one. And that was really waiting for a deceased donor. And then in about February of 2024, myself and a few of my friends, champions, decided let's try to go living donor route because that helps in a lot of different ways. It could accelerate the process. It's better for recovery and better possibility of getting a great liver, which I did. And the surgeon called Traci's liver beautiful and perfect. So those things happened. But I had been getting regular scans prior to that, just from another thing that I had many years ago. So, kind of fortunate to catch it and get treated by good doctors. So, it was always under control. But at the same time, when you have procedures on your liver, it starts to scar them. And when the liver scars, it can become cirrhotic and hard, and then it can't do its function.
Wow.
So Mike, the rugby community rallied around you. You talked about the search for a living donor that began? I'm assuming, many people, offered, right? I guess the testing to see if there was a good match. But I guess it wasn't really until, Traci, you tested and then became a match. So I guess, Traci, like when you were made aware of Mike's situation and need, when did you start to consider to get tested? And what was that decision process like?
So I saw the social media post in March, and the first step was just to fill out a basic like Google form with your contact information and a little bit of health history. And I sent that in, and then they emailed me back and said they needed some blood work to verify my blood type because you had to be O positive or O negative. And I knew I was O negative already, so I knew I was going to be able to go on to the next step, but that was a formality I had to do. And after that, I actually sat for like 3 weeks because there was other people being tested. So they weren't going to put me through the process if one of these other individuals were going to work out. So they're like, just hang out. And if we need you, we'll call you. And I was like, okay. So it was like 3 weeks later. And I think I was in the kitchen maybe, and my phone rang and I was like, it's New York. And so I answered it, and they told me that if I was still willing to donate, that it was my turn. Like I was up and I could continue if I wanted to. From the get-go, there was like never any hesitation because we knew it was like a long process. So my wife and I were like, well, it doesn't hurt to just fill out the form, you know? After they called me, I did some video calls and some more blood work from Texas. Mike's in New York. I'm in Texas. So that's a bit of a geographical issue. But so then after those video calls and the blood work, that got me through to the next stage, which was actually flying to New York and going through some like physical tests, an MRI, an EKG, meeting with the surgeons. So it wasn't until like that step where Wendy and I were like, we should maybe really talk about this.
Right.
But again, it wasn't a long conversation.
Yeah.
We knew pretty much as soon as we read the social media posts, we're like, let's go. Let's do this.
Wow.
So
So then, Mike, when you heard, what was your reaction when you heard the news that there was a match? And then did the doctors tell you right away, like, whose liver matched with yours?
Yeah. So they, the people who screened, sometimes, they generally keep them, they keep it confidential for obvious reasons. But some people come forward and they tell you, or they'll tell friends. So I was aware that Traci was kind of in the system and was progressing along, and so were several others. But some people got really close and didn't pass the last test. It has, with arteries and everything has to match up. And Traci kept kind of progressing through, and it was starting to look pretty promising. And I was at lunch, it was June 17th, and I was at lunch with a friend, and the hospital called and they said that Traci was a match, and we were going to do it on July 2nd. It was about 2 weeks. So it was really quick. So that day was dramatic. It was super special and exciting for me. I was glad it was Traci because there was so much benefit from that. I knew that she was a good, young, healthy rugby player. I knew her wife pretty well. I had met Traci once, but really in passing, but I knew Wendy pretty well. And, it was just, I was really happy about the whole fit, and certainly grateful about, the sacrifice that she and Wendy and their son Cole made.
So Mike, this is a tough question to ask, and maybe a tougher question for you to answer. Was there a time prior to Traci's match that you thought, I don't know, maybe you needed to prepare for the worst, or come to grips with the realization?
I think the one thing, I never really got to that point, but there were little gaps where people looked promising and then kind of didn't happen. There were 3 real promising, didn't happen, and a couple months went by. But I was never in a bad state physically, but you just start to think about what could happen if nothing happened. So I never got real bad and down on it. I knew a lot of people were looking into it, so I never really got there to that point. And was pretty confident that someone would come through. I guess it was just my mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great mindset. So you mentioned earlier relationship. You know Wendy, but you don't really know Traci. So you two didn't really know each other.
No.
No.
No. I think
Can we take a break, please?
That's why everybody had such a hard time when I told them I was doing this. They were like, I don't know if I could do that. I could do it for my brother or my kid. And I'm just like, why? Why not? Like, just because I don't know him doesn't mean he's not deserving of an organ so he can live.
Yeah.
I think people thought I was a little nuts, a little crazy. But
well, we're rugby players. We are a little of that, but
yeah. Why stop now?
Okay, so okay, here we are. We're about a week out of surgery. Traci, you had to relocate to New York City for a lengthy period of time. Now, can you talk about a long time?
The whole family, right?
Yeah. And the money, everything involved in that. So can you talk about the support you receive in New York from like the rugby community and beyond?
First of all, the hospital was amazing. They had financial counselors, a social worker assigned just to me. So they really helped with all of the financial aspect of it so that we didn't have to, I was not paying for my housing and I was not paying for my airplane tickets. There was a national fund that supports donors, and then the hospital has their own fund. So they were wonderful in that aspect. So yeah, and then when we got there, I mean, Mike already mentioned his champions, Bruce and Kitty. They took such good care of us and helped us with anything we needed locally. Cole got to do some fun adventures with our friend who came with us. So it was overall, it was a fabulous experience. I mean, our son got to see New York. He'd never been. And just the amount of support online from people, you know, sending messages and asking if we needed anything. And Wendy and I stayed for 4 weeks. Cole was having a little bit of a hard time with being gone so long. So we sent him home with our friend who was there helping us at week 3. And, you know, people even back home were bringing meals to my house for him and my mom. And there was just support from all over.
And Tris, did Cole understand what was happening? Like, did he know? Like, I mean, he's young, right? Like, how much can you tell?
He's 9.
He's 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has this really great human body book where you turn the pages and it takes a layer of the body away as it goes. So I just flipped to the page where the liver was. And I was like, you see this? And I tried to explain it as much as we could. And he kind of gets it, I think, maybe. And every morning he's like, how's your liver? How's your liver feeling today? So he checks up on me daily. He's like, how big is it? We told him it regenerates. And he's like, well, how big is it today? So he semi gets it.
Yeah, that's good. So then I guess, you know, Mike, so going into the surgery, you know, obviously the team talks to you about, you know, complications and things like that. Did the doctor give you like the chances, like what were the chances that your body might not accept the transplant? I guess I worded that kind of funny, but were there concerns that maybe the body wouldn't take the transplant during the surgery, say?
Generally, that doesn't happen. It really, really tiny amount where right out of the gate, you know, it rejects it. But generally, the what they do to prep and all the tests they do on Traci would take that factor away for the most part. So it was really a simple conversation with Dr. Cato, who is a really renowned surgeon, and just told me, you know, what would happen. They would basically open up my stomach, take my liver out. After they took the piece out of Traci, then they would put it right in me. So Traci had her own surgeon, Dr. Hawksworth, who's also a renowned laparoscopic liver surgeon. Robotics are amazing.
Robotics, wow.
Yeah. So that got done. I got her piece and 60% of her liver, the right lobe. And she kept her 40%. And we are both regenerating as we speak. So within a couple weeks, it should be almost close to fully there, if not fully. Wow. Yeah. And I think that's the one thing, like, if we can get across on this show, is not a lot of people know what happens, and hey, it's no one's fault. You're working, you're playing ball, you're doing your thing, but the liver is really amazing. It can regenerate to almost back to full size in a pretty short period of time. So that's incredible. People can operate with a small amount of it. So organ donation and liver donation, we really would love people to consider it. It makes a huge difference, and no one should be afraid of it. Yeah.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Now back to the show.
So Traci, let's talk about one more question about the surgery date. Talk about that day, your emotions. I'm not even going to say second guessing, but let's talk about your emotions going into the hospital and that day happening.
Well, it was very early, so I appreciate you using that very early picture of me on your poster that you posted all over the internet. I think it was 5:30 when we had to be at the hospital.
Oh boy.
So I think I was still asleep when we were there, and it was awesome. Mike and I ran into each other in the lobby, so we got to see each other, and we checked in together. They even called us back together, and then we split in the hallway and went to our own separate little prep areas. And I was totally fine the whole time, just so relaxed. And it was like, Wendy, why am I so relaxed? It just, I never second guessed this. I was always 100% in. And then strange thing, I walked to the operating room. I was not on a bed, and everybody's like, that doesn't happen. But I think it's so that if I was going to change my mind, I could just turn and go.
Turn left to the exit and right to the...
So there was one small point where I was like, oh, what am I about to do? When the doors opened to that operating room and I saw the robot, and I was like, oh. But it was just split second, because then they laid me down and they went to town, and then I was asleep. But I was from the moment I filled out that form, I just knew that I was going to be a match and that I was meant to do this for Mike. So I was never scared, never hesitated. I was excited. I think I was a little bit more excited than Mike sometimes about being able to do this. So it was great. No regrets.
Well, you both look great. So recovery looks like it's going well. I mean, Traci, you're jumping up and down on a couch. But so let's start with their recovery. Mike, we'll start with you. What does recovery look like? How long, and are there certain things that you can't do?
Well, one of the benefits of having a living donor is it really speeds up the recovery time. So I was in the hospital. A lot of people will spend anywhere from 10 days to 3 weeks, sometimes more, recovering. And I spent 5 days. So that was awesome. That helped a lot that Traci was able to donate. That helped the process. When I got out of the hospital, I went home. So the biggest thing for me in recovery is taking it easy, letting the body get back to normal. So just a little fatigued. But really one thing I have to worry about is avoiding a hernia, because they totally cut through nerves and blood vessels and everything in my stomach. So I just got to watch for a hernia. So really walking is really the biggest exercise for me. So I'm building up strength. I have a great appetite, gaining weight. So that's all been great, but really taking it easy. 1 month comes on Friday, 1 month post-surgery. So that's a big landmark. 3 months will be a time where I can start getting out more amongst people. It's a landmark, and 6 months and a year are landmarks. I'm taking 23 pills now in total across 2 sessions a day. But that'll really start decreasing pretty soon. And within 6 months, it'll be down. And within a year, I'll be down to 1. So just a cocktail now. So it's not bad, but I get a little tired in the evenings, from that. And the last thing is my body is the metabolism, because I'm growing a new liver, and with the medications, it's the doctor said it's like you're running a marathon, every day. So it can kind of wear you out. So, but that should all be closing down pretty soon as I grow that liver.
So you have the metabolism of a younger person, so you can eat a lot more.
I can eat a lot. Great.
Pack it on.
Yeah,
Carbs.
I am taking advantage.
And then Tracy, for you, what is recovery? Is there a timeline? And tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to Mike's. I have also the risk of a hernia, so I'm not supposed to lift anything. I think I have like a gallon milk is my measurement right now. If it weighs more than a gallon of milk, I'm not supposed to lift it right now until like 8 weeks. And then I think at 8 weeks, I can go to like 15 pounds. And then 3 months, I can start going above 15 pounds, but slowly, like really listening to my body and making sure it's not too heavy. And then at 6 months, I should be back to all pre-surgery activities.
Oh, rugby.
So,
Yeah, I'm retired. I don't play, but I am a personal trainer, so I lift weights like all day long.
Yeah.
So that's been really hard for me not being able to even help my clients, like I can't lift even things for them,
That's my wife tells me all the time. I was told I can't lift milk or anything like that. It's like, oh, I'll get it. Mike, post-surgery, can you share your post-surgery prognosis?
The surgery went great, and the recovery, everything really got into normal. Once I, got out of the groggy stage, everything went well. My blood levels, my blood work was good, and that's why I was able to get out of the hospital so quickly. So, it was good that I was in pretty good shape going in, and that, like I said, the living donor helps the recovery process, and then going home. Over the course of a month, I need some people to help me out. So my partner Fabiola and my brother Doug have been the main people helping me. And that's been fantastic. But really, it's just about, keeping moving, eating right, and putting on some weight, and and just keeping a good mindset, So, but as of now, I feel probably at a 7.5 to 8, So that's where I am.
Good.
So Tracy, I mean, I've learned a lot about just this process, and I guess for those who are hearing this and want to become a living donor, can you tell us like what is the testing process? What are the requirements? What do the tests look like? I know you covered it a little bit, but for those who are hearing this for the first time, thinking, hey, I want to get on a list, is there some process like that where they can fill out or become registered, if you will?
Yeah, Mike probably knows them by heart, but there are some organizations where you can just register with them to be a living donor. And then the process is really easy in the beginning because it's honestly just a blood work, So as long as you're not too afraid of a needle to have some blood work taken, they can test a lot from the blood work because they check all your liver levels and, they tested me for every possible illness in the world because if I had something, I would give it to Mike. So I would just say the first step is simple and easy, and you're not committed even if you do the first step. That was one thing they kept saying to me. They're like, you can say no at any time. Like I could have went all the way to New York. I could have been sitting in that pre-op room and I could have said no, and I could have left without doing it. So at no time are you like 100% committed, you can walk away. So it's like, put your name on the list, go through the first step. And then once it gets closer, my wife and I just kept saying like, we'll deal with that when we get to that step. We'll deal with that when we get to that step. Instead of trying to think about the whole thing right up front, just take it one step at a time because it can take several months. It is a process.
Well, Tracy, I had some people outside the door, so you weren't going anywhere. I didn't know that. And the other thing I tell people while it was happening, that I knew were interested, I said, at worst, you get a total comprehensive medical taken care of by the patient. The insurance pays for. Yeah,
because my insurance paid for nothing. Like his insurance covered all of my medical expenses. So that's another thing that people might be fearful of like the cost, but his insurance covered everything. Again, there's the the support funds from the hospital and the federal funds. So you're not going to be responsible for anything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Like a free trip to New York. Sorry, not that.
I'm not going to say that.
All right, Traci, what about people that would say, okay, I drink during the week. I maybe have 3 beers a night, every night. Well, maybe not every night, but enough. Should that scare them off? Or is there maybe a much higher level that needs to be worried about as far as stuff that could damage the liver?
Again, they're going to know that through the blood work. So being a drinker does not disqualify you. Mike was lucky with me. I'm not a heavy drinker anymore. You know, when I was a rugby player, different. No. So, so we didn't really have to have a conversation about the alcohol. You cannot drink 30 days leading up to the surgery. So that is one thing. And I can't drink for 6 months post-surgery while my liver regenerates, right? But if you consume too much so that there's something wrong with your liver, that's going to be shown on the blood work, you know? So again, go ahead and fill it out. There was nothing in the paperwork that said you are disqualified if you are a drinker. So
the one of the things they'll ask, they'll say, what's been your drinking habits over the last X amount of years? So, yeah, if you're social and stuff, yeah, if you're having 8 drinks a day, they'll tell you thanks, but no thanks. Yeah, it's just it goes case by case.
So let's talk about support. You know, my wife battled breast cancer last year, and thankfully she's beaten it. And we talked about this morning. She's really excited about the show, and I asked her, you know, what would be some good questions, kind of thing. And one of hers was about support, you know, and the advice we can give people who want to give support. So what kind of advice can you give to those who want to support people fighting cancer or becoming liver donors? Again, when she was battling, well, people would ask myself and her, how can we help? And we didn't really know what to say at first. And, you know, was it meals? Was it rides to chemo, whatever else? So Traci, let's start with you as the donor. What advice would you give to those who are trying to help?
Help me or help Mike?
Actually, you as the donor, like what support could they give you? Yes.
Okay. It's so hard. I don't really, again, I don't think about myself. I think about everybody else.
Well, that's what I want you first.
I mean, if they have children, having a caretaker, whoops, sorry, I lost my earbud. Having a caretaker for children, if they don't, you know, we didn't have like a nanny or anything. Our kid goes to camp and goes to school. So childcare was a concern. We're realizing now that we're back home, the house is a little messy. I'd really like a maid right now. We still have not gone to the grocery store, and we've been home since Saturday. I overdid it, like I said, on Tuesday. So today I was like, nothing for my wife. Like I was supposed to go to the grocery store, and I was like, I can't. So the daily life things are going to the wayside. My dad mowed the yard this weekend, so that was helpful. So I think when the spouse is having to work, she's back to full-time working, taking care of the child and taking care of the household. I think if there's any way you could support the spouse in helping with day-to-day life, I think that would be a great start.
And Mike, as the one receiving a living organ, what would you say to those who want to help?
Bring it on. It's most welcome. Yeah, you know, they have the hospital has a Zoom for people who are pre-transplant, and there's also post-transplant on there, and you can get a lot of information. That was very helpful. But like Traci said, like I think a partner or a wife or husband, like in the beginning they're right into it, but then work, and it becomes a really long day that they kind of have to do everything for a while. So helping those people out with food, or just coming over and saying, hey, I'll do the dishes or clean up, give you rides. People have given me rides to my checkup each week. those little things are helpful. And if one or two, a couple of people can do a little bit, that really, really is helpful for the primary caretakers in the house.
And then Traci, a little bit more about kind of the living donation process. I guess when, it's a you're not obligated, right? You can, step out of line, if you will, at any point. But when someone tests to donate an organ, are they put onto like a registry if they test positive for a specific person, or if they don't test positive for a specific person, maybe they're called upon for someone else? Is that generally how that works?
So when I was filling out my paperwork, I marked, there was different options. There was one like, your recipient, you were willing to be anybody's recipient, anybody's donor. And then there was this, Mike, is it called a switch or a swap?
Yeah, I forget the terminology, but yeah.
It's where if I wasn't a match for Mike, but I was a match for somebody else, then I could give mine to that person, and the person that they were going to have could go to Mike. You could do that where I would give it to that real stranger, as long as I knew Mike was getting another one type of thing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I said I was willing to do the swap and do I know my recipient. I did not do just putting myself on the list. That was just an option on the paperwork. Then when I agreed to do it, they needed my information to go on the National Donor Registry. I think that was to take Mike off. They had to put like, Mike is getting this person's. And so that's the only time I ever was put like on a list.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
go ahead.
No, I guess just a follow-up there, Traci, is just that, many people probably can't imagine like donating an organ, right? Like leading up until about a few months ago, the thought maybe it never crossed your mind, right? But here you are, you've donated. Here you are, thankfully, and Mike too. What do you say to someone, that can't imagine like giving part of an organ to someone else?
Yeah, a lot of people said that, and I think one of the main driving forces is Wendy and I have a lot of friends that are either currently battling cancer or have lost their life to cancer. And in those situations, there was nothing we could do. We just basically had to sit there and watch,
Mm-hmm.
Bill, like your wife having breast cancer, I can't do anything for her, right? Like I can't give her my breast or, like there's nothing I can do really, just give her positive vibes and support her as much as I can, so you feel kind of helpless and there's powerless, So the fact that I could actually physically do something and give Mike a chance to beat this, that's also why I really wanted to do it, because there's just been too much cancer in our circle of life. And I was done. I was like, I am going to take control and I'm going to beat this or help Mike beat this, I also wanted to be a surrogate before this happened also, but things in life happen and that didn't come true. So I was already planning to give away a baby. So let's give away a organ, Again, I think I come from a different...
Right there, I'm sorry.
Sometimes I think I'm just built differently. Like I just thought if Mike was my brother or my uncle, I want to help him, and I just want people to try and think about, you could save somebody's life, and the feeling of that, there's nothing that compares to it. Like, don't be afraid,
So Traci, good question for you here.
Here we go.
Do you consider yourself a hero?
I say I feel superhuman, so I don't know if that's the same thing. We were watching Deadpool, my wife and I, because we want to go see the new movie. and he like goes over the definition of what a hero is. And I looked at Wendy and I was like, so does that mean I'm a hero? And she's like, yes, you are. So I don't really think of myself as a hero, but I feel pretty superhuman by doing this for Mike. I do.
Mike, you feel the same way?
Yeah, well, I think that's an easy question, and
Yeah.
I know Tracy will answer it that way, which is great, but she is a hero, and she made a tremendous sacrifice, and her generosity in doing this, as well as Wendy and Cole and her family, extended families, they all come into the equation. So Tracy is a hero, certainly to me and my family and circle. And I will forever be grateful for that. And we both hope that this can inspire people who are watching your show and in our community, families and rugby, that they can go forward, because there's a lot of people in need and people who can really seriously be fixed and helped by doing this. And, it takes a certain person. Not everyone can do it. Not everyone has their mind frame. But having said that, this type of technology has come a long way, and they've really, I can't say perfected it, but they've really made amazing strides to make it work well, incredibly well. So I hope people consider it. I'm really grateful to my circle of friends, my immediate champions, Bruce McLean, Kitty McNally, Tim Walsh, Dallas Sanfield, who posted out to his meta universe. And then people who off that shared it, they were amazing. And all of our well-wishers. We really thank you from the bottom of my heart, and Tracy too, for all your well wishes.
So Mike, one more thing for you, and or maybe two things. What's next for you once you're back to maybe close to 100%? Where will we find you?
Well, I will still be in the thick of things with PR7s as we pick up, and this Olympic momentum will really help us. And so many of those women on all the teams, played in the league, which was so cool to see, and to see so many of our American girls who played. Spiff was one of our players. It's so great. So I'll be doing that. I'll be on the field somewhere in New York. So I will be right back into rugby as soon as I can.
Good. You know what? You mentioned Dallin Stanford and his social media following. Could you imagine if Alona Mar had you going out? You would have a buffet of livers to choose from.
I would truly be the Hannibal Lecter of the Little New York.
Wow.
No doubt about it. You led me there.
Yeah, I did.
Yes, yeah. There's no doubt. But
Tracy,
you're getting money anyway so it's great.
It's true. Tracy, Mike, we can't say it enough. It's been amazing to share the story with our followers, with our listeners. And Mike, we're incredibly thankful for that you're here to share it with us as well, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show.
Guys, listen, thank you for having us on, allowing us to tell the story, and allowing everyone to meet Tracy, whose incredible generosity and spirit of giving has saved me, and we hope inspire others. So, guys, thank you for everything, and we look forward to the MLR Championship next weekend.
Absolutely. Go Free Jacks. All right. Thank you both, and let's do this again. Let's chat again soon about something even better and healthier and everything else rugby-wise. So great talking to you two. Have a great night, and we'll chat again soon.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all.
Have a good night.
You too. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, what a show! But those two are amazing. It's so. I'm so happy to see Mike healthy. I'm so happy to see even the joy of Tracy talking about what she was able to do or help Mike. And I'm glad we were able to laugh about it a little bit too.
Yeah.
You just never know with these situations. I talked about my wife, going through breast cancer last year, or both of us dealing with it, and from day one, it was like let's deal with this with humor. We're not necessarily spiritual people, so let's laugh about things, to lower down the severity of it. Obviously, we knew what we're dealing with, but just to be able to laugh a little bit and try to make each other laugh, because it can get really sad. So I just love the fact that they were able to laugh about things at this point. I mean, maybe on July 2nd when they're going to surgery, they weren't laughing at all, but at least tonight they were.
I mean, what I get from all of that, and just, again, incredible that Mike and Traci were able to do that and then share that story with us today. It's just, there's so much crazy in the world right now, but there's still so much good in all of us. And I'm just kind of just blown away by Traci, Wendy, their son, just the whole family just rallying behind this. She said it herself. She felt like it was like, as soon as she was feeling it out, she felt like she was meant for it. And just, just the goodwill and the humanity. There's a lot of good in people. And I think we just, I'm at a loss for words but it's just incredible we were able to share that little bit of that story with everyone.
Yeah. And listeners, there's a great article. Wendy Young, Traci's wife, wrote a great write-up on this just a couple weeks ago, or a week or so ago, or 2 weeks ago, on scrumhalfconnection.com. So check it out. It's an amazing write-up on it. It's called The Power of Rugby, Traci Young's Incredible Gift to Mike Tolkin. So check out that article online. Wendy does amazing work, especially with women's rugby. So and she's been on our show a couple of times too. So check it out. It's such a great, inspiring story. And again, if you are interested in finding out more how to be a living donor, look up online. There are registries all over for this. And it was interesting to note also that there's different levels of registries. One, you can register for someone specific, or just register generally for people who are in need. So it's out there. And Traci, I mean, I know it's a serious thing, a surgery she went through, but she did a great job saying it's not that bad. The testing's easy, everything else, and the recovery is great. And with the liver, it regenerates, it grows back. So it's good. And unfortunately, I drink too much beer, so I can't be involved in this. Sorry, I had to get funny out there.
Well, Bill, if you're looking for a transplant, I can give you some of from the top of my head.
I'll take it. Make it blonder in the back. Yes. All right, Fitzy, good one.
I already promised my hair to Matt McCarthy. I apologize.
Yeah, he's more in need than me. He's got nothing. All right, listeners. Just a quick reminder: we do have an interview coming out tomorrow at 5:00 here on YouTube. With Keelan Farrell, U20 winger, 7 try scorer in the World Rugby Trophy competition. It's a fun interview. Check it out tomorrow. Otherwise, tune in next week for another show, most likely Rugby Sevens. I believe we do have 1 or 2 guests already in the works. This should be a great time to talk to these people. We're going for gold. What I mean by that is we're going for some big names, and then we'll come down from there to maybe someone who's not even at the Olympics if we can't get them.
What show you were on?
I know. Who?
We were just on the Today Show and NBC.
We're still at Paris, I know. The Bill and Fitzy show. What is that?
Yeah.
Well, I've heard of the Fitzy and Bill show. I'll be on that one. All right, buddy. Let's chat next week. Good stuff.
Sounds good.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.